In George Orwell's allegorical novella Animal Farm, Napoleon emerges as the central antagonist and a representation of the corrupting influence of power. As one of the pigs who leads the rebellion against Mr. Jones, Napoleon initially presents himself as a champion of the animal's cause. However, as the story progresses, he consolidates power, manipulates the other animals, and establishes a regime that is as oppressive as the one it replaced. Role in the narrative: Napoleon is introduced as one of the rebellion's leaders, alongside Snowball and Squealer. While Snowball is characterized by his intellectualism and idealism, Napoleon is portrayed as cunning, ruthless, and pragmatic. From the outset, it is clear that Napoleon prioritizes power over principle, often using underhanded tactics to achieve his goals. For example, he takes the puppies from their mothers and raises them in secret, training them to become his personal enforcers. This act foreshadows his eventual use of violence and intimidation to maintain control. Napoleon's ascent to power is marked by his expulsion of Snowball, which he achieves through a combination of propaganda and brute force. By framing Snowball as a traitor and using the dogs to drive him off the farm, Napoleon eliminates his primary rival and establishes himself as the sole leader. From this point onward, he systematically dismantles the principles of animalism, replacing them with a dictatorship that serves his interests. Throughout the narrative, Napoleon uses various strategies to maintain his authority. He employs Squealer to spread propaganda, rewrites history to suit his narrative, and manipulates the animal's fear of external threats, such as the return of Mr. Jones, or imagined conspiracies involving Snowball. These tactics enable him to suppress dissent and justify his increasingly oppressive policies. By the end of the story, Napoleon has transformed Animal Farm into a totalitarian state, indistinguishable from the human-run farm it replaced. Symbolic significance: Napoleon serves as an allegory for Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union during the time of Orwell's writing. His rise to power, methods of control, and betrayal of revolutionary ideals mirror Stalin's actions during and after the Russian Revolution. Like Stalin, Napoleon used propaganda, fear, and violence to consolidate power, and he prioritized his interests over the welfare of the collective. Napoleon's actions also symbolize the corrupting influence of power and the tendency for revolutionary leaders to become the very oppressors they sought to overthrow. His gradual abandonment of the Seven Commandments, which represent the founding principles of animalism, reflects the erosion of ideals in the face of ambition and greed. By the end of the story, Napoleon and the other pigs have become indistinguishable from the humans, symbolizing the cyclical nature of oppression and the failure of the revolution to bring about meaningful change. Broader implications: Napoleon's character highlights several key themes in Animal Farm, including the dangers of authoritarianism, the manipulation of truth, and the role of fear in maintaining control. His use of propaganda and revisionist history demonstrates how those in power can shape perceptions of reality to suit their agenda. For example, Squealer's constant justifications for Napoleon's actions, no matter how contradictory or absurd, illustrate the power of language and rhetoric in shaping public opinion. Napoleon also uses fear of external threats, such as Mr. Jones's return or Snowball's supposed sabotage, to maintain control. By keeping the animals in a constant state of anxiety, he ensures their loyalty and compliance. This tactic reflects Orwell's critique of how authoritarian regimes exploit fear to suppress dissent and justify their actions. Napoleon's betrayal of the revolution's ideals also warns about the fragility of democratic movements. His consolidation of power and transformation of Animal Farm into a dictatorship demonstrates how easily ideals can be corrupted when power is concentrated in the hands of a few. Orwell uses Napoleon's character to emphasize the importance of accountability, transparency, and vigilance in preventing the rise of tyranny. Conclusion: Napoleon is a complex and multifaceted character whose actions and motivations drive the narrative of Animal Farm. As an allegory for Joseph Stalin, he represents the corrupting influence of power and the betrayal of revolutionary ideals. Through Napoleon's rise to power and subsequent tyranny, Orwell critiques totalitarianism and explores the dynamics of oppression, propaganda, and fear. Napoleon's character serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of holding leaders accountable. His transformation of Animal Farm into a dictatorship underscores the cyclical nature of oppression and the challenges of achieving lasting social change. Ultimately, Napoleon's story is a powerful reminder of the need for vigilance and critical thinking in the face of authoritarianism, making Animal Farm a timeless and relevant allegory for political corruption and the struggle for justice.